So, hey guys, we are pretty excited to launch our new project, Apptica Talks, and be able to tackle hot topics and share insights with great experts. And I'm even more excited to have Emilio Mellado, ASO expert and senior customer marketing manager at Geeklab with us today. It's our first guest. I'm honored to have you with us today, so thank you for joining us. And in this episode, Apptica talks about A/B tests in App Store optimization. Hi, Emilio. How are you today?
Hello, nice to meet you, Ksenia. It's a pleasure to be here and be part of this project, and it's even greater to be the first one. A bit of pressure too, to be the first one doing this interview, but it's fine. So yeah, very glad to be here.
Great. So, and before we dive into our primary topic on ASO, could you please just tell us briefly about your career so far, about Geeklab, and maybe some interesting projects you're currently working on?
Yeah, so I've been working in Geeklab since 1 year and a half, more or less, at this point. And yeah, as you mentioned, I'm senior customer marketing manager, which this means in a nutshell is that basically, when a new client arrives to our agency, I'm in charge of creating a conversion rate strategy optimization for them, for their product. Mostly they are games, which is my expertise. We do this through market research and experimentation, which in Geeklab, we have this agency side, and then we have the software side, which where we have our experimentation tool and our growth lab, which we use it for market research.
Okay, so your main expertise lies within ASO, right?
Yeah, my main expertise within ASO, but a bit of everything I can do about regarding mobile apps and games, yes, but my main expertise.
So, but for example, imagine we have a game studio or a publisher with some ideas about launching a new game. So how to test these ideas? So we will start from the very beginning, just to go step by step regarding ASO. So how to test these ideas, what metrics to bear in mind while testing. So would you please expand on that?
Yeah, sure. Basically, it's my day-to-day. So we have these new concepts all the time from developers that they want to try. They have new ideas. They want to see if they develop this further, how the market will perform and if they will find some user engagement in their new ideas. So when they arrive, they tell us the idea. And what we do is first, we do a market research. We see what's going on, what are the trends, what is popular right now for them. And now that we have all the information and they have it too, we develop different product pages for their concept. So these different product pages, we call them variations. The difference between them might depend on the status that the develop of this concept is. If it's like really, really early stage, even the theme is not clear. The theme, let's say you want to develop a game about zombies or about pirates, and you don't know really which road you get in your game, so you can develop both, but not develop both. You just need to create one icon for a screenshot and one ad, and then we can run ads. So we run ads on social media, we drive users to our testing tool, and then we measure what happened. We measure CTR, we measure conversion rate, cost per install in an estimate because they are not installing, and IPM, which will be the installations per 1,000 impression, which also those are estimates. But we will give you like a really, really good overall picture about early user engagement, so you will know if you continue that road, what will be the best approach to get.
Okay, so but how you understand that this particular variant is a winning one?
Yeah, well, that's the tech. You need to take a look at all of these KPIs. You need to take a look at CTRs, conversion ratio, different metrics that we measure at Geeklab. We measure those, and we also have all data entry about user behavior. So we know if a user scrolled the product page, if they saw the screenshots, if they engage a part of installing. So because we can track everything the user is doing, then we get a really good picture about what is the good and the best performing variant, so the winner, what might be not the winner. Then we have our own algorithm that tell you what's the confidence on this experiment. So it will give you a percentage on the confidence ratio, then also a winning probability of if you repeat the experiment again, in case that you don't find a potential winner, what are the odds that the same result happen again. Besides those KPIs, we also have, as I mentioned, our own survey tool. So if you have qualitative data that you can track what is coming from the product page, you will get like a really, really great picture of quantitative and qualitative data.
But what if you don't see a winning variant, for example? Some hypotheses have the same metrics, so what to do in this case?
Yeah, that's a case that sometimes we have to face. It can happen that we don't find a winning variant. So in that case, what we do is we take a look at the overall picture. We see what are some clues like, okay, there's not a winning variant, but in this variant, we see a peak on the performance in this metric. Or there are some learnings that we can incorporate, learn from, and then iterate to a follow-up test. So we can pick the best ideas, what are the best performing from every variant, and create a new experiment based on those learnings. And as I mentioned, if you have survey, you will also have the other side of the picture that you can incorporate new ideas depending on what you ask the user. So you can have even more new ideas, more learnings. So you iterate, you create a new test, and then hopefully you find a winning variant in there.
But what happens more often? So more often you find a winning variant from the first iterations, or you need more iterations to achieve this stability, to find this winning one?
It depends a lot on the case, but mostly if you have like a strong hypothesis, so you are testing, as I mentioned, themes that they are very different. So the most different, the better the hypothesis and the stronger it is, you will find easily a winning variant. If you are testing, let's say, the color on the hair of your character, so if this is a character with the hair brown or red, then it's something really, really specific, and it can be too hard and not having that much of an impact on your performance, not as strong a hypothesis, and it will be more easy to not find a winning variant in that case. So it depends on the experiment and the impact that it's having on your CVR.
And you mentioned previously, just like we don't have this app, real app, so we have only some prototype, and that means that the user can download, right, this app, because
exactly.
But how to redirect? For example, I see the creative with call for action download. I click, and where I will be redirected. So how it works? Yeah,
that's exactly when Geeklab come into play. So after seeing the ad and you click the download button, you go to our product pages. Our product pages, they look alike one-to-one to the App Store or to the Play Store, depends on your need and to what platform you are developing the game. So you will see a recreation one-to-one with your icon and your screenshot that you have made only for that test. And in there, you will have the user that clicked the ad. And after the user seeing that product page, where we are tracking everything in there, they can click the install button. But because they are not in a store, they are not installing anything. So what we do is that we redirect the users to a survey, as I mentioned, or if you don't want to use a survey because any reason, you can also send your users to a landing page where they can pre-register. to get access to when the game is ready, or in other cases, we have seen some developers that send the users to the real developer page in App Store or Play Store, so they send the users to their other games, and then they try to keep the user somehow engaged in their ecosystem.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty clear. I have never faced actually this trial, so that's why it's particularly interesting for me. Okay, so we have tried different strategies about our ideas, and we already have an app, so gaming or wherever. So, and how to elevate your custom product pages with A/B testing?
Yeah, well, regarding custom product pages, so their new feature from Apple, they enable you to optimize your app and optimize your marketing efforts. So sending user from your ad to a custom product page where you target that more specifically. It's a very good feature, but it lacks of some features if you want to do a more comprehensive test. So that's why we suggest to use Geeklab in that case, because on Geeklab you can edit everything on your page, which is the main limitation that you have on the custom product page. And also the other side is that you can track everything. You have every metric about what's going on the product page, and you don't really get all of these metrics. So that's why we suggest to you that you can elevate your custom product pages. If you do A/B tests with Geeklab, then you will get these learnings, you will get your metrics, and when you implement this in your strategy for CPP on Apple Store, then you will find that your marketing efforts are better. You elevate your strategy, you get a better performance in there.
But so there are a lot of elements of the page, but where to put focus on? Maybe there are some suggestions: icons, screenshots. What works better, video or just pictures?
It really depends on what is your target audience and what is the genre of your game, on the type of app that you are doing, because it might be that some users prefer engaging with videos if they are what we call exploring users. So users that before installing, they scroll through your page and they see your video. They want to know more before installing. So for this type of user, video might work better and might be a must to have in there if they are your potential audience and the one that install the most. But if you are, let's say, having a hyper casual game, so even if they are now pivoting to more hybrid, but your main user is decisive, so they saw the ad and they want to play now, they are not going to pay attention to the screen, to the video. And if they see that the screenshot match at a glance what they saw on the ad, then it might be even more relevant, and then they will install immediately your game. So it depends a lot. The best thing here is that you know your user, you know that how they behave, and then you deliver the better assets that you can deliver for those users.
Yeah, but you just mentioned also the correspondence of the ad and the screenshot, but sometimes there is this trend of fake ads. So when some publishers and advertisers, they use some other mechanics that you can't see in the gameplay actually, do you test fake screenshots or some fake info, and what results might it bring?
Yeah, about the fake ads and fake screenshot is a bit of controversial topic nowadays. If it is done in a good way, I strongly support it. I think it's a marvelous strategy that you can and need to try to find new insights, but you need to do it correctly. What I mean by this is that we have been seeing previously that the fake was only on the ad and then not really on the screenshots. For sure, that mechanic wasn't on the game. And that really can harm your long-term retention on the game. So that's not the best way of doing it. But nowadays we are seeing that, okay, they are using let's say fake, but not that fake anymore, ad, and then also fake mini game, which is not fake because it's also now on the game. But the thing is that those mini games that they are using and promoting a lot and more harder than the actual gameplay itself might be 5% of the actual gameplay. So it's not fake anymore. It's true, it's in there. It's just a short experience. But I think it's good if those, and you confirm your hypothesis that if you use that, it helps, it retains more users and increase your download lifetime value, then I will strongly support that.
In a good way.
In the good way, always in the good way, yes.
Great. But sometimes these fake strategies, some fake elements, they might lead to negative reviews, and that's also a part of ASO. I know that you are not into reviews and ratings, but maybe you have some broad perception or broad vision how it can help to teach maybe the strategy, whether there is a correlation, and more. So I have this like curiosity maybe about that, how to incentivize users to leave a feedback. Because from my personal experience, when I'm asked to rate the app, I just put the star and that's it, and I am leaving. I have never written something. So maybe you have some info on that, or you have faced, experienced that.
Yeah, well, I can give you some very broad insights about this topic, and I don't have a magic one about how to incentivize the reviews. That's a very complicated topic, I think, and a bit out of my scope. But this really is related to ASO in a way that it can help, or it can be having an impact in your download. So if you're having good ratings, you're having good reviews, for sure, the social proof of your game will be elevated. It will be a consequence for you of having more downloads, and more downloads, better ranking. So your game will grow both in the ranks, But this requires also some effort from the developer team. So if you are having bad reviews and you are not addressing those, you are not replying to your reviews, then your social proof might be going backwards to you, are actually harming the downloads that you are getting. So it's a lot of effort to be tracking your reviews if your game is very popular, but it's something that will be in the long term helping your social proof and your ranks. That's one side of the coin, and the other side is that if you are paying attention to the reviews, I know that there are some tools that help you to filter and categorize those. You might find some insights, some learning, feedback from the user that maybe you didn't think of, and help to develop your game in a new direction, or having some features in a different way if you are paying attention to them and doing an active hearing of your users.
Yeah, it's quite obvious and logical. Yeah. In general, ASO strategy, it's quite a complex task. So what are the best practices for mapping out a series of A/B tests, not to miss a thing?
Yeah, that's almost my daily exercise when we have someone new to test. So the thing here, when you need to map maybe a series of tests, is that you need to define your goals. You need to know what you are doing and what phase is the game right now that you are going to test. So it's not the same testing if your game is in a concept phase, or if this live game that it's been on the market for some years. It's very obvious, but that's something that you need to have in mind for the day one, and something that you need to ask yourself before starting the test. Also, I mentioned briefly this, but having a strong hypothesis, like the example of the theme, like zombies versus something really different, will help you to go to if you are going to develop into that direction, will help you give insights into where to go and where not to go. So I think we can even divide this in phases. So concept phase might be more related to everything that you cannot change after your soft launch phase. So theme, art style, game main game mechanic, I would say even. So everything that is the core of your game that's need to be addressed in this concept phase. Then you will move to a soft launch phase where you need to give the best shape possible for your game. So, okay, let's find out what is the best key message. What is our unique value to sell to the user? So you need to put the game in the best shape possible in this phase. And then you will have your global launch phase where you might be focusing on localizing for specific countries or doing some iterations, but it's better if it's divided in phases. So global launch phase, focusing more into details. The early on the process, you focus more into the main core of the games.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so goal, concept, soft launch, priorities, target audience. What's next?
Well, now that you have mapped your tests into different phases, then you can start testing. You will need to develop all the assets needed for every test, and you will iterate with those assets. But the thing is that even if you have a plan for the next month, you need to be flexible enough, because you are doing a map, you are doing this test plan before testing. So you have your road, but then on the road, there might be some issues, there might be some unexpected learnings, some different pathways that you might need to take based on the results that you are getting in every test. So it can happen that results surprise you, and now you need to change the test that you are doing. So always being flexible, be open-minded to learn what is happening on the test.
But is it possible to run several tests at once simultaneously in parallel, or it's better to run one test, then another, just step by step gradually? So what's the best strategy here?
Yeah, so this depends on how hurry you are. If you are running tests in parallel, then you are obviously going to get the results earlier and in advance. But the thing is that some of those tests might be influenced by the other if you run them sequentially. So if you have the time, I will suggest that you run sequentially your tests, so you are getting learnings in every test, and with those you are iterating and changing your next test sequentially. But if you're in a hurry and you need to test different stuff, then it's fine. It will give you also some insights if you run them in parallel. But as a best practice, if you are testing through your development of the game, I will say that it's better to do it sequentially and not mix what you are testing in every test.
Okay, great. Okay, so we have like initial stage, then product, custom page. Now we have a well-established app. We're already getting some downloads, but still, right, we need to change constantly something, as you've mentioned, just to improve the strategy. How often, from your expertise and from your experience, you need to change something?
Well, yeah,
maybe engagement or some other metrics.
Yeah, I would say that testing is a continuous and iterative process that it's good that you are always doing it. So even if your app, your game is already out, it's doing great, it's been 2 years out. Yeah, no matter that, it's good that you are always testing, because it gives you continuous improvement through testing. You are testing, let's say you are into a new season of your game, you want to test different creative, you need to do that before reaching that point. So continuous improvement, if you have this culture of testing into your game. Also, if you are continuously testing, besides that you are going to improve your metrics, you are also going to be on the trends within the market, because you are testing, but also you are taking a look at the market. So you are up to the trends. And if some design trends are changing, you can jump into there, see how that adjusts to your game or your app, and then go with that or skip that trend because it might be that it's not for your audience. Also, because even if your game is doing great, but you are not stopping all of your other marketing efforts. So if you are testing, you might find that you can help your marketing efforts. Let's say that you find something that works really well, and you can then share that info with the user acquisition team, and they can develop new ads based on that info. Or if you are having any other marketing campaign and you want to have to test that in advance, how it will go. So you need to test before that.
A lot to test.
A lot is something good to have as a culture, I would say.
We also see that constant iterations in Apptica, because we have this news feed, and we notice how apps, they are constantly changing description, ads, creatives and icons, everything. So it's just constantly notifications popping up. It's crazy.
It's very crazy, but it's really good that they are doing that, because then they will be always doing the best assets for the users.
And what are your challenges currently? So, if any? Constant brainstorming ideas, try to test, but maybe there are some general challenges that the market is facing.
More than a challenge, I think it's part of my job to be constantly taking a look at the market, being on the trends, analyzing what's happening and why it is happening. So you never stop, because the trends never stop. There's always someone doing a new launch of a game, having a new campaign. So it's not a challenge, it's part of it, but there's always something new happening. It's better if you are up to date with everything.
Have you noticed maybe any trends on the rise for this year, for the upcoming year?
Yeah, I can give you what I think it's most important. I have 3 main ideas, 3 trends for this new year. So I think one of the trends definitely, and we are seeing that, is hybrid monetization strategies. So we have been last year seeing how some really popular games change their monetization strategy because some different law enforcement in Europe or not being that popular, those strategy with the users. So that's a trend that we are going to see this year a lot, I think. Also, another trend, prediction, how you want to call it, for this year, cross-platform gaming. So
yeah, quite a lot.
Yes, and that's very important because, multiplayer and social features, that's a no-brainer for gamers. And if you highlight on your store that your game can be played with your friend on PC or your friend on console, that's going to be really, really powerful for you in terms of engagement of the users. And so they can have this seamless experience between all of their device and within their friends. Lastly, and this is something that we are seeing in Geeklab from our developers, a lot of AI enhanced experimentation. So they are using AI to help them testing and iterate even faster. So using AI to create some screenshots, some visual elements, or having ChatGPT as everyone nowadays for helping you.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
To have an article written by the artificial intelligence, it wasn't that good, but still, it's marvelous, I guess, how it...
Yeah, it's not that good, but it helps you a lot to work faster, that's for sure.
Yeah. Okay, any advice, general or specific, for any other ASO experts out there listening to this podcast?
Well, my best practice is that, as I mentioned, stay always with A on the market, seeing the trends, taking a look at your main competitors, learning from them, because they are on the same place as you are, testing as a culture. So that's my best advice, I think.
Okay, so and what resources could you recommend where you take all the data, some inspiration maybe?
Yeah, I do a combination, more or less, between having some, for the daily work, I use Geeklab tool, so I can easily go there, search for the apps if I see something on the App Store, if I need some competitors directly to the case that I'm working. So we have a new feature on Geeklab where you can easily go there and create your list of competitors and research about icons, screenshots, even some keyword nowadays. But also, and thanks for Apptica, I'm able to see some ad intelligence report, so that which is very, very good and useful for my work. So having an overview of what's been going on in the market, that's very useful. So having resource from blog like the one that you are sharing, that's also one of my weekly tasks, I would say. I would like to be always on top on this new.
Yeah, thank you for bringing it up. Yes, I would like to mention also this ad report that we have released recently. So I will put, I guess, the link for this report in the description, and anyone who could be interested could just download via the link and just get the overall information and picture what's going on in the ad market among all the apps. So it might be pretty useful. Apart from the motherless blog of Geeklab, I read some days ago just to get better idea on ASO strategies, because I'm not an expert, so I have to confess. But just to have an overall understanding. So how to map the A/B tests, what to put focus on, how just to put myself into the shoes of the game studios and publishers. It's great just to get some information out of there. I don't have any questions so far. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Today. So I'm again pretty excited that we have launched this project, and from now on we will be able to share the insights with such great experts. We will put this episode into all major platforms and also on YouTube for those who are not fans of only audios, but want to have some visual pictures, so you're welcome. And stay tuned for more episodes to come. So we hope to make it weekly. So thank you, Emilio, for being with us, and thank you to Geeklab for this collaboration.
Thank you so much, Ksenia. It's been a pleasure to be here, and thank you to Apptica for hosting this.